Is lesson 3 from the fourth Mishnah in Perek HaMiniach. We're going to start from V'hotnan. Just to recap, we learned in the Mishnah, let's bring up a chart. We learned in the Mishnah, it was talking about dropping fertilizer in public property. And the Mishnah said that you're responsible. You're chayav for damages. So the Gemara asked that it seems that the Mishnah doesn't fit with Rabbi Yehuda because Rabbi Yehuda said that you're allowed to put fertilizer in public property. Now, let's change the color here. Let's put in a, maybe we can change something, make something interesting. Okay. So the Mishnah didn't tell me if you're allowed to, and Rabbi Yehuda didn't tell me if you're going to be responsible. Those two things were not said, but we can assume that if the Mishnah says that you're responsible, so you can assume that you do not have permission. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, that says you're allowed to, you can assume that you will not be responsible. So let's put over here, pater. Now, based on that, the Gemara suggested that the Mishnah doesn't fit with Rabbi Yehuda because the Mishnah says chayiv if that fertilizer causes damage. Rabbi Yehuda says pater. Now, Rabbi Yehuda didn't really say that, but that's an assumption that the Gemara makes. So the Gemara then says, actually not. Actually, Rabbi Yehuda really says that you're chayiv. So let's change this color and we'll cross that out. So let's cross that out. Actually, Rabbi Yehuda really says that you're chayiv. Whoops, I have to erase that. Let's try that again. So Rabbi Yehuda says chayiv, and now you can see that the Mishnah and Rabbi Yehuda both say the same thing. The only question that we had was, so how does Rabbi Yehuda say that you're allowed to do something and then make you responsible for any damages that causes? So we explained that although you're allowed to do it, they said, well, you're allowed to do it because we'll assume that it's not going to cause any damage. But if it does cause damage, so then we're going to have to deal with that and you'll be responsible. Okay, so now the Gemara says, how can you say this? V'hotnan. Let's write down that word over there. I just want to clarify. I'll write it here on the bottom. V'hotnan is a compound word. It's the two words is v'ha, which means but. You see there's an extra aleph. And then there's tanan, which is a mishnah. But we learned in a mishnah. So v'ha tanan, but we learned in a mishnah. How can you say that Rabbi Yehuda really holds chayiv, even though he holds that there's permission? Rabbi Yehuda said, "B'ner Chanukah pater mipnei shehu b'rshus." By ner Chanukah you're pater because there's permission. Okay, that is the Mishnah. Let's put that in quotes, and let me show you that this is actually a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah on Daf Samach Beis at the end of Perek HaKainos, and it's talking about a camel that has flax on it, and it's going in Rosh Hashanah. And for some reason, the flax that's on top of this camel enters into a store. I guess it's brushing against the store very closely. And vidolku b'ner shel chenveni, and it gets caught on fire because of the candle of the storekeeper, which was inside the store. V'hidlik asabira, and then it caught the whole store on fire, the whole house on fire. So bal gamal chayev. The owner of the camel is chayev because he went too close to the store. He should make sure his stuff doesn't go inside. But let's say the chenveni, the storekeeper, put his candle outside, then the halacha is chenveni chayev, the storekeeper's chayev. Rabbi Yehuda says b'nei Chanukah pater, that if that candle that was outside in the street was a Chanukah candle, then the storekeeper is going to be pater. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says, B'ner Chanukah pater, so I actually made a mistake here, which is not surprising to me. Do that all the time. But it actually ends over there, B'ner Chanukah pater, and we said the reason is, Mipnei shu b'rshus. The Mishnah didn't say Mipnei shu b'rshus. This is added. Let's erase that. I could erase that, but it's going to erase everything. Let's see. Whoops. Okay, we'll leave it. So Rabbi Yehuda says that by ner Chanukah you're pater because you have permission to do that. So if you have permission to put it there, then that would tell me that anytime you have permission, you should be pater. So if we take our chart again, let's make a line right over here, and we'll put in one more category. We'll put in, actually, you know what? Let's put it down here. Let's put in Hanukkah. Hanukkah. And we'll extend these lines down. Oops. Extend the lines down. Now, do you have permission on Hanukkah? And the answer is yes, you do have permission to put it outside. And are you responsible for it? And the answer is that you're pater, which means that any yes permission would mean pater, that you're not responsible. So we'll make an X. That you're not responsible. You're pater. You have permission. Automatically you're pater. So Rabbi Yehuda here said that if you have permission, you could still be chayiv. But here we have permission means pater, so it's not going to match up. So our question is, how did we say that Rabbi Yehuda holds chayiv, even though you have permission, when by Chanukah he holds you have permission, you're pater? Okay, let's go back to the Gemara. So it says, my lav, is it not mishum rishus bezdin, that the bezdin gives you permission? So the Gemara says, loy, no, mishum rishus mitzvah. It's because you have permission from a mitzvah, which means it's more than you have permission. It's actually a mitzvah to do it. So if you have permission, from Bezdin, then that doesn't mean that you're going to be pater. You can still be chayiv. They said, look, you're allowed to do it, but you're going to be responsible. But if they told you to do it because it's a mitzvah that you're supposed to put it outside, then they can't tell you that you're going to be responsible. Then you're going to be pater. The Tanya, as we learned in a brisa, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, the Tanya is a brisa. Let's just write that over here. Tanya, everyone knows that, but it's a brisa as opposed to Tanan. I was taught in yeshiva that anytime there's two nuns, it's a Mishnah. Anytime there's one nun, it's a brisa, but I don't know if that's a good rule. Anyway, Rabbi Yehuda says, B'ner Chanukah pater, Pnei Shurishus mitzvah. We see clearly that it's because of the mitzvah. That's the emphasis here, why we're quoting the brisa. That's why you're going to be pater, but not because it's just permission. So with that, we've ended this up. Whoops. Let's go back to that. Do you have permission? Not only is it permission, but it's a mitzvah. So we've just changed that if it's a mitzvah, then you'll be pater. But if it's just a yes, you may, then you could still be chayiv. And that way, the Mishnah and Rabbi Yehuda can still agree with one another. I should extend that over to that chayiv. That's clear. Okay.